Wait, who has the intro this week?
Is it you? Because I jacked the last one up, or is that before?
I think it is me. So awesome. Let's see. Ben, I'll read. I'll read.
I'll read.
I'll read. Perfect.
You're gonna read what?
Hello. Okay, here we go.
Listening to podcast is no replacement for real training. While we attempt to provide accurate commentary, we hold no responsibility on how you use the information we provide. Get medical training. In the blink of an eye, everyday order can be replaced with once-in-a-lifetime chaos. Be prepared. This is the Civilian Medical Podcast.
Welcome to episode 26 of the Civilian Medical Podcast. My name's Sean. I'm here as always, and my buddy Dietrich is also here. Skinny Medic, what's up?
What's up, buddy? How are you?
Doing well. You had a fun week?
We did. We had a busy, tiring week. We just spent a week at Disney. So the kids are exhausted. I'm exhausted and whiny. My back hurts. So we're back, though. It was fun. We had a good time.
That is awesome. So did you go to, which Disney did you go to? The big one in Florida?
Yes, we went to Disney World in Florida. So we went down there. We went to Disney, went to Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Animal Kingdom. There's another one we went to. I don't remember, but we did 4 days there, and then went and did a day at Daytona Beach, and then drove back. So we're back, and then it was fun. Our kids have been a couple times, so but they're at that fun age right now where they get to ride all the rides, and we paid them $10 to ride every ride. That was our thing. Like, right, they're cheap, they're easy too. They gotta learn, but
Yeah.
we're like, all right, $10 if you ride all the rides. So we hit roller coasters, we hit Tower of Terror, which my little girl said she would not ride again. Where's the other ones we did? But we did all the cool rides. We did Space Mountain, stuff like that. The kids rode them all, and we paid them $10 each to ride with us.
That's
You
nothing.
had to pay them to ride rides? What's up with that?
Yeah, like my little girl, like she loves them. Like she's the one who is their daredevil, like all exciting, like we'll tear this place apart. And my little boy is like the analytic, like analyzes everything about safety and all this stuff. So my little girl would have wrote it no problem. It's my little boy. He's like, this goes up pretty fast. Like, I don't really know about this. I'm like, $10. He's like, okay, done.
That's awesome, man. That voice you heard is our guest today. He's the host of the Offroad podcast and lots of backstage things around the Firearms Radio Network, along with self-titled Seller of Freedom at Rainier Arms. His name is Ben Allreed. Ben, what's up?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good, man. Glad to have you here. And Ben is actually he plays a very important role in this show. He posts the show for you guys to download and listen to, and like I said, all kinds of other things.
So if you guys are like wondering, hey, where's the show at? I'm probably messaging Sean and Dietrich, hey guys, where's the show at? Like, you got one for me to post?
No, I was going to totally blame it on you. I'm like, so when you guys are sending us hate mail saying, where's this week's podcast? It's Ben's fault. Ben hasn't posted it.
No, I'm usually going, hey guys, when's the next episode? I'm ready to post it. The fans are waiting, guys.
I don't know, man. You have your version and we have ours.
We'll agree to disagree then. Huh?
That's fair.
Somewhere in the middle is probably the truth.
There, absolutely, man. So we decided to have you on the show. Skinny Medic, why'd you want to have him on the show?
Our last episode we did was talking about essential gear to carry in your vehicle, maybe some things to think about. And Ben was like, dude, I wish I would have been on that. And I was like, yeah, you're probably right. We probably should have had you on for that episode because of what his off-roading skills. And we were talking about earlier, like his search and rescue stuff, what he's doing. So probably should have had him on that episode. So we'll just make this a continuing of last episode. I kind of want to talk about Ben, like what, he thinks, what we missed, what we did well on for that. Some gear that we should have in our vehicle, especially snow season coming up. Ice season for me. 'Cause I'm in South Carolina. We don't really get snow. We get ice. You guys get snow. And then, he does some rescue stuff, searching stuff. So let's talk about that and then have some fun with it.
All right. I love it. So let's first talk about, Ben, how you got into all that stuff.
So I've grown up here in the Pacific Northwest of the United States in Washington. I grew up going out fishing, camping, hiking, I was a Boy Scout back when that was the cool thing to do. And I've been all over. And if you could see a picture of me, I've got a beard. I grew a beard because I wanted to, not because it looks cool. I like going outside and exploring the outdoors, and the cool thing to do with that is make sure that you get home. I've got kids and a wife, and they prefer I come home. So with that, I kind of started gearing up more and stuff, and I wanted to go far places. So I'd go places like, I don't know, Mount Rainier, very cool place. Lots of people have died there because they die from exposure or falling off cliffs or getting lost, and whatever else may cause them their ailments, heart attacks. With search and rescue, mushroom hunters are a big one that gets lost. So I just love the outdoors, and I want to get home.
Yeah, definitely. So walk us through a little bit when so somebody goes missing, they're hunting for mushrooms. That's so weird to me, by the way. I will never disappear hunting for mushrooms, and if someone says that I did, they're lying and charge them with murder.
Yes, I'm like, I would eat the wrong mushrooms in a heartbeat. I'd be like, oh, this one looks tasty, and then I would be seeing stuff and
Exactly.
die.
This is
Eat
my
the wrong
best
mushrooms.
friend. Yeah, that's awful. So a call comes in, maybe someone's missing. Tell us about the search and rescue process.
So as I understand it is, someone's lost, their family calls the police department, 911. Hey, my dad went out hunting and he didn't return home. The sheriff's department determines whether or not they need, so we are an auxiliary under the sheriff's department as volunteers. And they determine, okay, we have our own search and rescue unit, which is a couple officers that are trained, and they determine what resources they need. There's several different auxiliaries. We have ESAR, which is your brush monkeys, as I like to call them. We have our 4x4 unit, which is what I participate in because I'm too fat to walk around. We have Aries, which is our radio guys, and then we have bloodhounds, and then we also have the German Shepherd unit, which is another dog unit for searches. So they'll determine what units they need. So say you're out in the woods mushroom hunting, what units are going to need? Probably German Shepherds, ESAR, and 4x4. So the 4x4 guys will patrol the roads, maybe move units around, and then ESARs will say, okay, this area we're going to search here, and they'll send out units looking in that area. And same with the German Shepherds and Bloodhounds, and Aries will help with comms along with 4x4. We have our own comms.
That's pretty cool.
That is actually cool. So you guys get mobilized, say, and kind of what's your process?
Unfortunately, my first search was just recently, and it was I showed up and I was set with a partner, and we were told to go search an area, and we searched that area, and then we determined after calling back to ops that we needed to expand our search from our area instead of returning back to base because there's a Forest Service that left from the Forest Service road that left from that town. So we followed that Forest Service road, and it's a whole network of trails. If you can imagine what coming off of one road, we have lots of gates, and so we were patrolling all the areas that were ungated and looked traveled recently, and there was snow. So we'd call back into base as we progressed our search. You wish us to continue to search. We entered snow, which was our first snow of the season, very early to have snow in October. And it was, okay, it's starting to snow. Would you like us to continue our search or bring in more resources? And we just continued our search.
And then since you guys are doing off-roading, you're just kind of like getting back in there where a lot of vehicles can't go, right?
You would think so, but a lot of it's Forest Service roads. I want to say they have another name for them out on the East Coast, like Class C or Class F roads, where they're we
call them cow pass.
Yeah, it's unmaintained roads or lightly maintained roads that are maintained just by the. Toddler. We have unmaintained roads, or they're lightly maintained by the Forest Service, to an extent. So there might be mud or potholes or a little bit of gravel to even possibly paved, but that's it. There's no guardrails or any of that. Or they could be completely off camber and crazy. It just depends upon how much they've cared about that road.
We were doing a hike last year, and like we use UTVs for our stuff, and so we were trying to get to these lost hikers. They were up in the woods, and they'd actually came up from outrunning a hurricane and got lost. They had nothing, and we knew about where they at. A Black Hawk was flying over them, had spotted them, and we're like, all right, cool, we got to get to that ridge over there, and we're all on foot because the UTV couldn't get any further. And this guy from the forestry was like, "You guys need a road?" And I was like, "Yeah, but we could use a road like right up the side of that mountain. It'll be perfect." He goes, "Okay." So he gets this big dozer out. It's like a roll cage, everything, and makes us this road like right there. Just plows over trees, makes this dirt road for the UTV to go. He goes, "All right, cool. You guys are good to go." I was like, "Dang!" Like he was saying that like if he rolls his tractor with that roll cage, that he can use the bucket and stuff to spin himself back onto his tracks and stuff. I was like, "That's pretty cool."
Yeah, that is awesome. So my county has UTVs in it as well, as long as our quads and UTVs side by sides. And then in the county north of us, King County, which is a lot more populated, they have snowmobiles as well. Being here in the West Coast with the mountains and the Pacific
That sounds like
Northwest,
fun.
sleds do get used, and quite frequently during the winter, because cars can't go that far in the snow.
Do you guys have any kind of medical training, or are you?
Yes, so we part of our training is we have basic first aid, and then we kind of train up from there. The Stop the Bleed class is actually one of the big ones that we use, and then we just have wilderness first aid survival training. Is one of the advanced classes they offer. And it depends upon how we get the training. So sometimes if we decide to go take training ourselves, the state will reimburse us 50% or more, depending upon how they want to, or the county, I should say, not the state. And then also some of our own members are trained in first aid and all that, and they're above and beyond trained. So they'll teach us as well. Maybe not a complete certification, but hey, I know a little more because of you.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, I totally agree. Now, when you're kind of out there, I mean, clearly four wheeling, you have to have some gear with you, and you have to take some stuff. And like Skinny Medic mentioned, what kind of gear do you take, and how did we do on that? Was there stuff that was glaring omissions that we didn't get to, or like A, how do we do? B, what do you carry?
The big one that I saw that I really liked you guys had was the 10 essentials. From a search and rescue standpoint, generally the people that really struggle are the ones that don't have those 10 essentials. Those are, that's what's going to make the difference. You have those 10 essentials, and being an off-roader, I go above and beyond, because where I go, someone might not be able to get to me the same day, and I want to be able to survive in comfort. So I have more heavy duty gear. So like with my search and rescue stuff, we have our trail kit, which is our 10 essentials. And then we have a 72-hour kit, which has some more food, a sleeping bag, a tent. That way when I'm instead of trying to sleep in my vehicle, which may not be the most comfortable if it's flipped over on its hood, it's going to be better for me to sleep in a tent. If I'm helping a subject and he's down the trail, I've got a tent to get him into, so he's out of the bad weather.
Nice.
That's very cool. So when we talk about those kind of kits, do you carry stuff for other people as well?
Yes. So I like my first aid kit. I have a small first aid kit that I keep in my trail bag. But that's not everything I want. So I have a much larger first aid kit that has stuff, a lot of the same stuff plus some extras. It's stuff like moleskin and instant ice pack and chest seals, a burn dressing, CPR mask, saline spray to help clean out a wound. I don't need those for a right then and there trauma kit. So those stay in the vehicle. It's a whole separate first aid kit that's 4 times the size of that little first aid kit that I keep on my trail bag.
What kind of vehicle do you have?
I've got a 2006 Toyota 4Runner. It's lifted on 32-inch tires, a winch bumper up front with a nice worn winch. I've got a power tank to air down, and so instead of a compressor, I have a CO2 bottle that I can air up my tires with. You wouldn't think that CO2 would work as something to air up your tires, but it does, and it works quite well and quite quick.
Do you keep all of your gear like inside of the vehicle, or do you have the roof rack where you're putting packing gear on top of it as well, or how does your configuration work?
I don't like keeping things on my roof. I do have a roof rack where I can put some stuff, but the problem with when you put stuff on your roof is you change your center of gravity, and then you can risk rolling over more. So I do as much as I can to avoid stuff on the roof. So in my trunk, I've got all my stuff organized in bins that I can pull out and put in decidedly on the need. So I don't need to carry a CO2, a 20-pound, well, it's like 50 pounds when it's filled up full of CO2 tank in the back of my rig when I'm just going to the grocery store.
Right.
I mean, I carry it around a lot of the time because why not? But I choose not to. And so I can just pull it out, put it in the garage. But everything else is kind of in totes or bins or cases. I'm always changing my gear around because I'm always trying to minimize things and make them smaller and more compact. Because, having a nice tent will fit everyone is nice, but it's not always convenient for space. And the less things I have shuffling around in the back, the less chance they're going to fly through the back of the rig and hit me in the back of the head.
Yeah, I'm always like reorganizing my stuff, like trying to figure out, all right, what's the best place? And then I get new gear, like I get something new, like, all right, I like this better, or I'm going to try this and see how it works and things like that. So your radio stuff, are you doing CB radio or are you doing ham radio? Like,
so we're using CB, so for off-roading, CB has been the go-to for years. More and more people are moving towards ham. With search and rescue, we don't use ham frequencies. We have our own private frequencies that we have. So I've got a ham radio, and I'm actually working on my ham license right now. Just for the fact of how useful it is. We had a rollover a couple years ago when I was out wheeling, and it was really bad. The guy didn't have a very good roll cage on his rig, and his roof actually collapsed, and he sustained some neck damage. And we called medics in, and they airlifted him out. And so, and the way we were able to call in medics was because of ham radio. So I found it quite useful to have, because you can reach out and touch someone. When you have a ham radio versus a CB, you get maybe a mile.
Yeah, that's what Sean and I were talking about. I think on that last episode, we were talking about that. We're like, he's working towards his ham radio license, and I get organized and start working on it, and then I get distracted and I scroll off, and I'm like, dadgummit. So I feel like I start from the beginning of the little app and book, and I work about halfway through it. So I just need to scroll back about halfway and go, all right, now I can make it through it. So it's definitely a goal of mine to get my ham radio license. I do feel like that science, that's a hobby is dying, but it's very useful.
It's surprisingly, at least through the off-road world of eyes, it's getting more popular because of how cheap the radios are now. You can get one of those Baofeng radios for $30.
Mm-hmm.
You can have like a repeater on your truck there. I'm like, you could set up some cool stuff.
Oh, the
that
digital side of things. You can set up a digital where you can text. So you're too millennial to want to, talk over the radio. You can send texts. There's an APRS app, so you can track your friends and they can track you as long as there's a digital signal.
We actually did that not too long ago. We were up in the mountains and we had no cell phone service, nothing. But we were on the side of the road, and one of the radio operators for the field communication unit pulls up, opens up his Tahoe. Boom, we have a repeater system. All of a sudden we have internet, all ready to go straight off a ham radio. I was like, this is pretty cool, because this was supposed to be a quick down and dirty rescue, and it ended up not being. And I text my wife. I'm like, I'm not gonna make it home. Like it's just not tonight. I'm gonna make it. Let me finish that sentence. I'm gonna make it home. Just not tonight for dinner. So, but but I had no cell phone service, so Candace didn't know what was going on. But and we were able to get food up there to us because the guys were like, man, I'm starving. This call came out like at 10:30 in the morning, and we thought it was gonna be quick, down and dirty. So everybody missed lunch, and now we had food on the way and restock, stuff like that. So it's just really cool for the radio side of stuff to see that.
Yeah, it's so handy to have the comms when you need them. When you're deep in the snow and you break down like I did this last mission, it sucks, and you're like, what am I gonna do now? We work in pairs, so my partner was there, and we just hopped in his rig and drove out. But had I not had him, I'm sitting there with a disabled vehicle, where the heater core is slowly going cold, so I'm losing heat in the vehicle. I'm like, I'm gonna have to build a fire. Didn't have to worry about that this time.
That's pretty cool. Damn, that's awesome. Someone came in and I missed it just a little bit, but did you guys talk about the first aid gear and stuff?
We did not yet.
All right. If this is a good time for it, let's talk about some of that first aid trail gear. Like what do you carry?
So in my trail gear, I have a tourniquet, gauze, Band-Aid, some hemostatic gauze, some tape, some trauma shears, gloves and more gloves because why not? Coban, a foil blanket, some quick clot, a small thing of burn gel, a CPR shield, a small flashlight, permanent marker, eyes in a face shield, and a patient card short report. It's a card that was given out to us to kind of just help when you're there and you're oh my goodness, I can't think of the word right now. Your adrenaline's running. You're trying to go through the steps of, okay, I need to get their name, their age, pulse, start going through, assessing them, going through all of that. Is it reach?
I'm not familiar with reach.
Scene safety stuff. Along with you check their airway, their breathing, their circulation, disability. March. There we go. Reach March.
Yes.
Close enough.
Yes. The stuff I obviously with
I have a
posting this
sweatshirt for that helps you remember that. It's a hoodie. I can send it to you. You just look down.
Look in the mirror.
That would be handy. So they taught us some slightly different things with search and rescue. Every teacher is different, right?
Everybody's got an opinion.
Yes, they do. And so I'm listening to this podcast at the same time as I'm going through this training, and I'm like, oh, this is different from what I've just learned through this podcast. And so so they use reach and instead of march. And so you reach out for a response to them to make sure that's safe to, because what if there's a lightning or a power line down or all of that. So it's a card with all of that information along with some patient assessment, kind of as signs and symptoms for head injury, hypothermia, low blood sugar, and shock.
What kind of tourniquet do you have?
So I have a cat. Or I have a couple cats, and then I have one rat that I bought a long time ago, and I keep it in there because if I run out of tourniquets, it might be nice to have one that, even though if it's not that good, it's there.
So, these days, everyone's like embarrassed to say that they have a rat's tourniquet. I've got like a ton of rat's tourniquets. If I like get that far down in the kit and I need them, then
and that's why I've kept it. It's there in case I need it, but it's not my go-to. I've got a practice cat tournament, and I'm very happy with it and how it works.
Yeah.
That's what we talked about before.
I've got some boys for I do Trail Life USA. It's kind of like Boy Scouts, but slightly different. And we were going over first aid this last week, and I pulled out my practice rat cats tourniquet and showed the boys how it works, and they're like, "Oh wow, that's really cool." I'm like, "Here, why don't you try that way you know how it works?" Because my first aid bag is with us whenever we go out on events and stuff. And if I just happen to be the guy, at least I know there's a handful of boys that know how to help me.
That's what we talked about before, the rats tourniquet. I don't think it's the best tourniquet on the market, obviously, but there's worse things you could use for a tourniquet.
Like a belt?
Yes, yeah. I mean, a belt's 550 cord. Like we could name a ton of things that does not make a great tourniquet.
Yeah.
The rats it is what it is. It has its limitations, like Sean has talked about before. As long as you understand its advantages and its limitations, then you're good to go.
Yeah, I feel like everyone like that now is embarrassed. I'm like, no, don't be embarrassed. We're fine. This is good. Like if you have them, and that's what you bought and paid for, and that's what you have when the time comes. Like, man, like use it. Don't be embarrassed about it. Like, I wouldn't buy more of them personally, but
yeah, I bought mine back when they were new on the market, and it was, this is the new hot thing, and I'm like, I'm building my first aid kit. I definitely need a tourniquet. And then I'm like, after using it a couple times, I'm not the happiest with it. It works, but
it hurts like a mother.
it does. I do much prefer the cat tourniquet, and it works really well. And for me, it works a lot quicker.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I bought a handful more of those.
Yep, totally awesome. And then you didn't go through the advanced everyday first aid kit, right?
No. So my advanced thing is everything that's in that I just stated, plus more. So like I said, it's a much bigger kit. So I have more gauze, more of all that. I've got multiple tourniquets in there instead of just one. I've got my home meds. And I don't have any prescriptions, but I've got some ibuprofen, Tylenol, Benadryl, sting relief, some Bengay in there because muscle cramps hurt. And I'm fat, and if I have to walk, I want to be at least able to be comfortable with it. Some Moleskin, instant ice packs. I've used those so many times. I've got a 7-year-old that's as clumsy as me, if not worse. He got a black eye at a soccer game, and I was like, hey, here you go. Here's an ice pack. Now get back in the game. Sam splints, chest seals, a burn dressing, CPR masks, saline spray. So I got a can of saline spray that's pressurized to help clean out wounds, and that's great for keeping in the bag for cleaning out a scraped knee or whatever. Tick remover, tweezers. So yeah, it's a lot more stuff that I don't need for a basic trauma kit.
Do you find like the cold messes up some of that gear, or does it?
No, I like my first aid kit. I don't like keeping in my rig, because I worry about it. So it's generally kept at pretty regular temperatures, room temperature stuff. So I bring it in the house with me at night. And I've not noticed anything really affect it as far as cold. But I do try to go through my kit, a couple times a year just to refresh gear, what needs refreshed. Because, like I said, I've got clumsy kids and I'm clumsy, so I'm replacing stuff all the time.
I can imagine that tick remover. That's definitely one that I didn't think of. Like that's a great idea, especially here in Colorado in the mountains. Not other places, but
so I got a tick remover because was a year ago we were camping, and my sister-in-law's dog got a tick, and we're trying to remove it with tweezers. I don't know if you've ever removed a tick with tweezers. It sucks. It's a pain in the butt. The tick remover tool it's like a V shape, and it gets tighter as it gets closer, and it's an L shape at the same time. I'm trying to, yeah. So and it removes ticks really easy. I think it was like $8 on Amazon when I bought it, and I was like, okay, this will work perfect.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. We'll have to look into that.
That's a really good idea. I was trying to think, is there any other insects or like stuff that we might want to avoid or have?
Bug spray. That's something I actually didn't put on there. Bug spray. In the Pacific Northwest, it gets kind of swampy. So I've got a ton of bug spray that I keep. I've got at least 3 cans in my vehicle because every time I go camping, guarantee the one I want to bring, I forget. So I keep a can of bug spray in my first aid kit now, so I don't forget it.
Yeah, that's actually a really good one.
Because mosquitoes suck, and itching them sucks even more.
Yeah, in Colorado, we don't have it as bad as a lot of places do. Like down south where Dietrich is, like, holy moly, forget about it. Or even up north, like Minnesota in the summertime.
They'll freaking carry you off down here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy. But yeah, so what kind of bug spray do you guys actually use? Because I'm like, if it destroys the environment or kills the earth, that's fine.
I use Off Outdoors. It's a higher concentrate of DEET, which works better.
Yeah, I'm using the same stuff.
That is one that I've used too. I know they say DEET's bad for everything, but I don't really care. It works great.
As long as I don't have mosquito bites, I'm happy.
Yeah, I don't want to sweat. I like bugs and just it's nasty. So, yeah, we'll start spraying down, just spraying everything, keep them away from us, and whatever we need to do.
So Ben, if you do locate somebody and they're injured or whatever happens, what?
So we'll do an assessment on them. Hey, are you able to move? Type deal. If we can move them and they need to be moved out, hey, I'll throw them in the passenger seat and we'll get them out of there. If it's bad and they need to be littered out, we've got resources. Our ATV team, they actually have a mobile litter that attaches to an ATV trailer. And he climbs rocks and tree stumps and stuff. And patient will get out. Or we can carry them if we have to.
Dang.
Carrying sucks.
or we can, or there's also the helicopter option, which can be really expensive.
Especially if they have to go somewhere crazy.
But it's so much fun to ride up under the helicopter. You ride treetop over the helicopter. It's a blast.
I was so excited to get my training done and to get that certification. You would be amazed at how much training you need and don't need for that.
Yeah.
It's a blast. It's fun. I got the opportunity to do it, and we flew treetop for a while, and it was you just hang out. Like you're secured to the basket, the patient's inside the basket, I'm secured to the basket, and you just fly out. It's a blast to come up through the trees, top the tree line. You're like, this is the best job ever.
That is pretty amazing. I've gotten to shoot AR-15s out of helicopters, and some of the things you never even think about, like you literally have to strap your magazines to you. They're tethered to your rotor, because they said if a magazine gets sucked up into the rotor, everyone dies. That seems like not. I mean, a magazine, that's not that big of a deal, but yeah, they're like, if you drop it, it'll get sucked up in there and we're going down.
Yeah,
they don't glide very well. So.
No, they glide like stone.
They told us about some horror stories with helicopters and airlifting, like how powerful those blades are on picking stuff up. There was one time they didn't clear the field fully. They just looked at it. Okay, it's clear, and then there was a corrugated piece of steel tin roof there, and it got sucked into the blades. Instead of going the way it pulls up air, it ended up blowing it away from the blades. But there was a guy on the side of the road waiting. It was one of his first search and rescue missions, and it actually decapitated him. Through that piece of metal that hard. It's crazy. You really got to clear stuff.
All right, after action report for that, Skinny Medic. What would you do?
I would probably drink a glass of whiskey and try to find the pieces and put them back together and just put it in a body bag. Maybe we should start selling body bags at medicalgearoutfitters.com.
Yeah, I mean, if everything else fails.
I can see him selling.
Yes. But yeah, we had to we were doing a rescue last year, and the Black Hawk was looking around, like trying to help us find it. And we were finally like, dude, you have to get up a little bit higher. And he's like, we're trying to see. I'm like, no, you're killing us down here. Like he was just knocking like huge tree limbs out of the tops of trees. There's so much wind and stuff. And I'm like, you're going to kill us down here. Stop. But it's fun, but it's a big tree limb, 6 or 8 inches flying down on the tree at you is not fun either.
Yeah, no, that doesn't sound fun at all. That sounds decidedly not fun.
No.
Yeah, and that was like with fresh snow. We had a tree go down behind us where my vehicle was. We were leaving, and there goes the tree. So we had a 6-inch stump or 6-inch tree to move.
Oh yeah, chainsaw. That might be a good thing to keep in there too.
That is actually something that's kept in there. High lift jack. We use a bottle. I like using a bottle jack versus a high lift jack for lifting my vehicle. but sometimes it's not appropriate. Recovery gear, straps, more straps, because even if you don't need them, someone else might need them for a longer recovery, like distance-wise.
Yeah,
I had recovery strap in my truck when we went to the IV-80 shoot because I was like, man, I just wanted to I wanted to pull a Chevy out. Like I wanted that to be happening. Like my F-150 sitting there pulling a Chevy truck out. Like I wanted that to happen, but it didn't happen, unfortunately. So I did try to run over Sean and his crew, but
I was just gonna say, you know what did happen?
what did happen was I tried to run over you guys.
Yeah, we're walking through this muddy field, and we say our goodbyes to Skinny Medic and Mrs. Skinny Medic, and hugs are given, and they get into his Ford, and they start to drive away, and then he turns around, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if he forgot something, and then he starts coming towards us, and I was like, no, he didn't forget something. What he forgot to do was try to run us over, and when that didn't work, he decided that he was going to floor it and fling mud all over us. I think you tried that like 3 or 4 times. Like
yeah, I did.
Places he just like kept circling, trying to throw mud on us.
I was really trying to get Aaron. Like that's the one I was really going for. I mean,
I support that.
It's kind of an inside joke now. I guess it's not really inside anymore. But like anytime Mrs. Skinny Medic posts something on Instagram, he's all over it. Like, he's the first one that comments on stuff. So I was just trying to
I don't blame
cool
you.
him off a little bit.
I don't blame you. That's some good jealousy right there. You got to keep them in check.
Exactly. I mean, I really don't think that Aaron is a threat, because if you had to pick between Skinny Medic and Aaron, I mean, I would
hope I'd win that one.
Yeah,
But
you're gonna win that. That's choosing between like a steak and getting kicked in the nuts by a bull. I'm going to take the steak every time.
So going back, like if there is someone injured, how long are you probably with the patient until EMS gets there, or you get?
Yeah. Well, so if you're the person that finds the missing subject, you're with them until they're passed off, and you have to give a report of everything that you've done and everything in between, just like you would as a civilian. If you're with someone waiting for EMS to get there, you're with them till they're passed off, and you pass off what information you have.
Do they talk about like a sample history, stuff like that too? Like when we talk about reach, is sample another word they use for you?
Sample is another word that you use.
So there's, as Sean racks a gun. How about that? So sample is, signs and symptoms. We've got allergies, medications, pertinent past medical history, last oral intake, and then the events leading up to whatever happened. So it's something else you can kind of use to gather some information from patients as you're waiting for first responders to get there.
Yeah, definitely some good stuff, especially because, I mean, just being back in there, it could be like quite a while, I imagine. So you have time to be bored.
Oh yeah, they've talked about having to be in there overnight sometimes because of some of the places you go here in Washington. It gets really deep, and sometimes it's not always passable.
Yeah, I can imagine, man. What are some of the things that you're thinking about for the future? I noticed there's a list in here. What's the reasoning behind that stuff?
So I've listening to this and then going through training with some of the other guys. Whenever we go have a training, a group training mission or our group training session, we show our gear, kind of like, hey, look what I added. So like the last one, I was pulling out all this new recovery gear I got from Warren through the podcast, and I was like, hey, look at all this. Look at this cool safety shackle and all that. Well, we had some first aid gear that was shown. A SWAT tee. You guys have talked about the SWAT tee a lot. Mm-hmm. I've been considering one for a while. O2 Plus. It's like canned O2, and I've been considering it as something that might be useful for someone having a hard time breathing, especially as you get up there in elevation. A soft litter, because those big heavy aluminum. Well, they're not that heavy, but they're aluminum litters. Not very convenient to keep in the back of my 4Runner and with my kids, and a soft tee. I'm always down to try out different tourniquets.
Definitely. That makes a lot of sense. Soft litter, that is a good thing. Or you could just carry a bunch of Curlix with you and make your own.
Duct tape.
Duct tape.
Duct tape. Well, I've got a tarp and enough straps to where I could make something, but it'd be nice to have something that's a tarp that's with built-in handles already.
Like I used the Dynalift. That's the one we started. We started out with the Rescue Essentials one, and then we started out with now we have the Dynalift. That thing holds 1,500 pounds. And the one that's in my truck right now, I've used over a year and just different stuff around, and it's held up just fine. It's not even really meant to do that. It's meant to be like a one and done deal, but it's meant to be disposable. But I've used mine for a year, and it's just now starting to show some wear and tear. So, and it's like those don't take up a lot of space. They fold flat. They're as flat as a blanket. But something
anytime
to
you
hold
can save space is nice, especially if you have a Jeep. I used to have a 2-door Jeep. I couldn't hold nearly a fifth of the gear I have now. Too much of a gear junkie.
I found the bigger my vehicle gets, the more gear I carry too. Like I've had the Jeep Wranglers or the TJs, and like, all right, I got a little bit of space here. The TJ has like 6 inches of trunk space, so you're like, all right, I'll carry this much stuff. And now they have F-150s, got the drawer system, camper shelf. I carry so much crap back there, but I was able to find, like, we were at the IV8 shoot. The guys from Fostech were there and like, hey, do you have any duct tape in your truck? And I was like, yeah, I got duct tape. I'm from South Carolina. I got duct tape. Pulled the drawer system open, reached in, grabbed it. I was like, holy cow, like first shot, found what I was looking for. Like that was amazing.
That is awesome.
I'll admit I still keep duct tape, paper towels, and super glue in mine. So,
Oh, yeah.
Granted, they're no longer in the first aid bag. They've moved to just, if I need to wipe my hands or glue something back together, baking soda with your super glue instantly cures it. Very handy.
Yeah, what's the surgical grade glue that you recommend, Dietrich?
Dermabond?
Dermabond, yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Is that what you carry, Ben?
Yeah, I do have some Dermabond in there, along with as I'm thinking about this is in my everyday or my meds bag. Is I have some Dermabond and I have a tooth chip repair kit. So like if your filling falls out, you can fill it in with this paste stuff. It'll help for a little bit, just because how sensitive your teeth get after you lose a filling.
Yeah.
Super sensitive.
Why does every guest that we have carry way cooler stuff than I do?
I'm a gear junkie, so every time I hear about something, I'm like, oh, yeah, I need to go get that. And then I just tell my wife it's for search and rescue, and she's okay with it.
Yes, I need this, baby.
Exactly. I got to have this.
So others may live. Seriously, babe. That's the motto, is so others may live, and that's why I volunteer, right? So I need this stuff.
I gotta figure out something, because every time some gun shows up at the front door, Candace's like, where'd this come from? Like, I don't know, babe. I'm sorry. You're so pretty.
It's for a review.
Yeah. Yeah, it's for a review. I need this.
She's like, but you're a medical guy.
Yes.
And you're like, no, but I'm a medical guy in the shooting world too.
Yes, I gotta keep relevance in the shooting world. That's how I justify it. But I like the addition of the soft T. I think that's a good one to look at because of that Velcro on the cat sometimes can get messed up, and when it gets wet or bloody, it doesn't stick very well. I think that's a cool addition there. And then what was the other thing you said you were adding to? I forgot.
The O2 Plus?
Yes, O2 Plus. That reminds me. So I'd looked at some stuff. We actually did a review on for a product it was oxygen, but it was so temperature. It needed to be temperature controlled. So that was one of the negative things I gave about it. It wasn't a huge. I didn't like that part of it because it had to be within a certain temperature range, and basically it had to stay within room temperature. So if something like that was available that you could had a little bit wider temperature range, it would be really cool.
Yeah, definitely.
That was pretty cool. Do you carry a pulse ox?
No, what is that?
The finger pulse oximeter, the one that you put on the finger to check the pulse.
No, I've been considering getting one of those. I haven't looked into them and what they cost though.
$20 on Amazon.
All right, there we go. That's my next purchase. I'll probably do that today.
Yeah, they're pretty cool and good to have.
That'll save me trying to take someone's pulse, because it's
as long as their hands are not cold. If their hands gonna be warm, and it'll be accurate. You can still feel their pulse, and it'll show the pulse on the screen. As long as those correlate, those match, then it's accurate. And then we want their pulse ox to be above 94%, which is what you're looking for. That's that goal. And you can obviously, if they're having an asthma attack, like some kind of breathing problem, then oxygen is a good thing. We've kind of figured out that with like heart attacks and strokes, that oxygen may not be the best thing to, like when I was, even just a couple of years ago, like, all right, everyone gets high flow too. Everyone gets a non-rebreather. Everybody gets, a lot of oxygen. And they're like, well, these heart attacks and strokes may not necessarily be the best thing. But obviously if they're having shortness of breath, then those little portable oxygen tank would be good.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I've never actually really had a desire to do search and rescue because I don't want them to be searching for another lost person in the woods.
So the last mission I was on, I broke down. I had a stick go. We thought my starter went out because I shut off my vehicle, went to turn it back on, and it wouldn't turn on. I had a stick unplug my neutral safety switch, so my vehicle wouldn't start up, and we ended up having to pull 2 more vehicles from the search to help me get off the trail, and we had to flat tow me with a strap 20 miles down out of the mountains into town. And I don't want that ever to happen again. So
No, that does not sound like fun.
armor for my vehicle now. I've got a whole grip of it sitting in my garage that I've got to start welding and installing.
That's epic, man. Let's see. I think that's all the questions that I really had about search and rescue. What do you think, Diedrich? You got more stuff?
So I wanted to ask, like, because everyone always asks, like, what's the worst thing you've seen? And I don't want to ask you that. Like, I don't want to go there. I want to know what's the funniest thing you've seen as far as like patient care, patient injury. Like, what's the funniest thing you've done?
So this is actually comes back to me on one of our first trainings. Is we went to lift the litter and how tall different heights with people are. So they wanted me in front and another tall guy in front, and then we lift, and then we're doing all this high lifting, and everyone else behind us is shorter. So they went tallest in front, shortest in back. So the patient's head's downwards, downhill. It's like, oh, that's not really going to work, guys. And she's like, oh, the blood's rushing to my head. and so half of us dropped her instead of putting her down. Ooh. And so the litter went and slammed against the ground, and it was just like, oops.
Oopsie.
Okay, that's actually pretty funny, though. I would not be able to contain my laughter, which would probably be highly inappropriate at that moment.
Well, luckily enough, it was training. It was one of our own, and we were learning.
It's totally okay to break one of your own. It's fine.
Yeah.
Fine.
If you're safe, you're good. We got you covered.
Oh, man. All right, that's very cool. Product of the week. This is one that's near and dear to my heart. You mentioned you were over working in the shop today. Is this what you were working on?
Yes. It's been more work than I thought it was going to be, honestly. We started the subscription boxes at medicalgearoutfitters.com, and they went really well. Like, honestly, you guys are awesome. Like, so the people that bought them for the first month, October, we kind of did this generic name for your podcast or for the subscription box. Like, hey, generic name. It was like Boo Boo Kit, Prepared-ish, and then Civilian Medical. So 3 different levels. You could get into it at $30, $60, or $100 if you just want to buy it one time and see what it's about. You got 10% off if you wanted to say, hey, look, I want to get this every month, and it's a reoccurring charge in your credit card. And man, you guys rocked it. So we got everything nailed down. Like, all right, we want this in the kit. We bought a lot of new stuff that we had not been carrying that we want to put in subscription boxes to kind of help people be aware of more products out there, some more cool products out there. So that's probably going to be what we're going to do in the future is, try to do that, keep that going is, all right, let's add some new items to the level 1, level 2, level 3. And that way you're getting some new items exposed to you. So I feel like it's a great way to build your medical preparedness kits. You've already got some training, hopefully getting some training, listen to our podcast. So this is a great way to get supplies. So over the year, if you subscribe for it, then my goal is not to repeat anything on purpose. So putting some cool stuff in there. Yeah, there's some cool stuff going on. I don't want to give it away yet because Sean hasn't gotten his yet. So
sounds like a good way to upgrade some gear, replace some gear.
It is. So like this month, October was, just kind of generic. November is coming out now. You guys can go in and sign up for those. It's going to be tools of the trade. So, $30 is going to have some tools in there, like tweezers, scissors, some different kind of tools that you may need in your first aid kit, things like that. So got some cool ideas for that one. Working with a couple different companies too to maybe do something a little different for it too. So I'm excited. It's been a huge support. So I thought that would be a cool product of the month. Yeah, product of the week.
Very, very awesome. I love that. I was the first person to sign up, and I cannot wait to get mine in. Also, I actually used the Boo Boo Kit when I was in New Orleans. Someone had a hurt finger, so I cleaned it out and and antibiotic ointment and a Band-Aid.
Nice.
All out of the boo-boo kit that comes from medicalgearoutfitters.com. Coupon code civilian medical save you 10%.
Got that nailed down.
I did that. I always try to think of something funny to say when I do medical classes. So when we did the Stop the Bleed kind of thing at the Iraq Veteran 8888 shoot, I just did that over and over and over again. Like every product he would bring out, I'd be like, yeah, and you can get it at medicalgearoutfitters.com. Coupon code civilian medical, give you 10%.
He said it like at least 5 or 6 times before I even got through the tourniquet section. So
everyone was laughing.
that was a cool time. That was a cool class. We talked about we were going to do it. This is the first year we've done it. So we invited influencers, YouTubers, Instagram people, and manufacturers, companies to come. Say, hey, look, we're going to give you a free Stop the Bleed class. It's just something quick, informal, and it's going to be Sunday morning. So after you've been up all day at the range, you've had probably a little bit to drink Saturday night, we need you to get up early and come to class. And there were people it was standing room only. I was excited. So
That's good.
It was
I
great.
thought just me and Sean standing there, like
Just hanging out.
yeah.
No, actually, we had planned to do it, and he looked at me like, okay, let's do this, and I just sat there. I was like, okay, go ahead. Made me laugh.
And
I
if
was
you
like-
click the link through the show notes, that's the way to do it.
There you go, exactly, and that's all at firearmsradio.tv. Just click on Civilian Medical Podcast, and Ben, that brings us to our goodbyes, where we ask you kind of where can people find your podcast and everything that you're up to.
So I'm on the Firearms Radio Network. I help out on a multitude of podcasts, but the main one you can find me at is the Offroad Podcast. Offroad Podcast, everything. We've got videos going on YouTube if you're interested in going off road. We've got an event coming up here in Washington. It's an off-road car show, charity car show. I started it last year. We used to have Toys for Tots runs, and we drive down the road and go drop off toys for Toys for Tots. But I didn't want to have 50 or more vehicles driving down the road with me at the same time. Too much crap. So I decided to make it a car show, and then I added Northwest Harvest, that's a food bank. And I talked to all my friends in the industry and said, hey, can you hook me up with some stuff to give back to these guys that are giving? So last year we got 667 pounds of food, which is, I want to say close to 1,000 meals, and then 4 Toys for Tots boxes overflowing with the toys. My goal this year is to double it. So even if you don't got a really cool off-road rig, maybe you've got an F-150, come out, show it off, and maybe you'll get some ideas of what you need to improve. Talk to me. I'll give you all sorts of ideas.
That's cool.
That is very cool, man. That sounds like a lot of fun.
And also, if you listen, you like, I've got an F-150, I need some ideas. Dietrich, go steal parts off of a Raptor, and upgrade your suspension. Get some long travel going in there.
I want to just rip the supercharger off one.
Oh yeah,
That would be cool.
more power.
Yes, more power. I can do everything with more power. It'll be fine.
That is so awesome, Ben. Thanks very much for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, guys. I've enjoyed being on the back end of this podcast, getting it posted. It's a great resource. I enjoy it.
Thank you for all your help. I really do appreciate it.
It is awesome. Couldn't do it without you, man. And Dietrich, any words of wisdom before we leave?
No, looking forward to next week's episode. We've got Combat Midwife. She's going to talk about all the awkward things we don't want to talk about. So it should be an awkward conversation. It'll be good.
I hear that she wants to embarrass me, but I can't be embarrassed.
Yeah, like I told her, I was like, look, you're listening to the mild version of Sean. Like you should go listen to the We Like Shooting podcast.
Yeah.
That's more his real speed. I was like, so it'll be fun.
You don't embarrass me. I embarrass you.
Yes. So, I'm looking forward to it. It should be a good time.
I love it. Go to medicalgearoutfitters.com. Use coupon code Civilian Medical. It'll save you 10%. And we will talk to you guys next week.
Find us and subscribe at civmedical.com.